Hi, how are you? This is Grandma Debbie with another Pegasus story. Today's story I think is going to be a little bit different than usual, but fun all the same. So the children, and there was a bunch of them this time, was the whole gang. Rachel and Zach. Rachel's 20, Zach 17, Luke 13, then the little ones, Desmond, Tia, and Lindley, and of course, Demetra, she's 17 as well. Now, the older kids have heard Pegasus stories for years, and the little ones are just getting a good start on them now. So this time, they're all in their different homes. So they begin to see a light, each one of them. They're all in their own bedrooms. So the kids are coming from, all over the place, several different states. And Pegasus is flying, and he swoops down, as usual, swoops down over the house. And first, it's Rachel in her place, and then Zachariah, and then Luke, and then on to another house where they get Demetra, and then on down south where they pick up Desmond and Tia and Lindley. Now, another thing happens as he continues to go south, and he swoops down to over 2 more towns and picks up the grandkids that they don't get to see a lot. So we've got Bryant, who is a dad, and we've got Grant, who's over 20, and we've got Seth, who's in high school. Then we have Sydney, who's also an adult, and then Ryan and Riley, who just graduated from high school last year, and Cheyenne, who's in high school. So there's a whole bunch of kids, a whole bunch. And they don't really all fit on Pegasus's back. So they first pick up the first batch of kids, and they go, it's warm now. It's warm outside, so they're not cold. And they're looking down, the grass is green, the water's flowing in the rivers and the streams, and they go south. They go south until they see this river, and they begin to follow this river. He's flying over it, that is. And they come to this place where there's just a beautiful woods, really, really nice woods with buildings all around. And he begins to go slower and begins to descend, and then down he goes into this large field. But it's different. It's not a field where you would grow wheat or corn. It's flat. And on 3 sides, it's covered with woods. And just behind the woods on one angled side is a river. It's called the Stillwater River. And Pegasus comes down and he swoops down over a hill. So one side of it is a big hill with a big building on it that's got 3 tiers of balconies on it. And they look around and they realize they're at camp. They're at camp where they sometimes go in the summer. And they're so excited because they love camp. So they wonder just exactly what's going on here. So he says, you guys go ahead and get started and see what will happen. And I'll be back with a surprise. And that's when he took off and he gathered the other kids that were further away. And he picked them up. Well, in the meantime, little kids, the younger ones, well, they're 17, 20, whatever. But they have all been to camp and they have an idea of what's there. And it's a ball field. And what it is this field is a floodplain, which means it's dirt, but just underneath us, maybe sometimes not even a foot or more, is solid rock. And so when the river overflows, it floods it really, really good, and it's real slow to absorb because it's on bedrock, but there's dirt on top of it. And in one corner, this area is a ball field. But it doesn't have the backstops and all that kind of stuff because it's a camp and it's all rustic. Now this field is probably big enough to put 6 ball fields on pretty easy. So it's a big, big field for ballpark, that is. So they get down there and they see that there are some other children playing, and it looks a little like kickball. Now, y'all have played kickball, I'm sure, but something's different about this. It really is. They're just having a blast. They're hollering and screaming and running. Well, they look at the bases, and the bases aren't right. The bases are big, maybe 6 foot wide and 10 feet long, and they're a big water puddle. First base is a big water puddle. Second base is a big water puddle. Third base is a big water puddle. Now, home isn't. Home is just the base. It's like you usually see a home base, only this is camp, so it's a piece of wood or whatever. So the children are playing and they're running around all over. And so the other kids, the cousins, they begin and they jump in and join the game. And they said, what is this? And they said, oh, this is the most fun game ever. This is called mud mat ball. Oh, the older kids had played mat ball, but they had never played it in the mud. So away they went. They jumped in line. Half of them went in the outfield. Half of them went up to get in line to kick, because they thought they were going to kick the ball because it looked like kickball. Well, the kid in front of them got up. The ball came straight to him. Would have been a perfect kick. He picked it up and threw it. And ran like crazy to first base. Only he didn't stop at first base because the ball went so far out. So he ran to second base. And by the time he was headed into third base, the ball came in. And they got the ball close to him and he stopped on third base. Well, now as they began to play, the next person got up and ran to first base. But when he kicked the ball, he kicked it instead of throwing it this time. So apparently you can kick and throw. He took the ball and threw it straight up. Well, when the ball came down and hit the ground and somebody grabbed it, and what it did was prevent the runner from third to get to home. So the runner on third had to stay. So the kid that threw the ball straight up ran to first, ran to second, and then ran to third. That meant there were 2 people on third. That should have been an automatic out, right? Oh, no, not in mat ball. On mat ball, here's the key of the game. You can have as many as you want on first, second, or third. You can have 30 people on. Yep, as long as you have a toe or a finger or your hair touching somewhere close to the base. All right? Now, first base is special. When you leave third base, you have to leave and run all the way to first base. But you have to go either on or behind home plate. So the kids are running, and if they're between, so they have to, it takes longer to get from third to first. So they've got to take, a lot of caution to make sure they can get to first from third. So they take off running from third, and they have to go all the way around the base and run to first. But if they get to first safe, they're safe. It's okay. It doesn't matter how many people are on it. So the other kids get up and they start playing. And pretty soon you have 10 people on second and 3 on first and 10 on third. And somebody takes the ball and throws it really, really far. Now, here's the other thing. You don't score just one time. Every time you passed home plate, it's one run if you make it safe to first. So you might make 10 points on one turn or more. Or you might get out before you even make one. But you've got to be able to make it from third to first. And once you're safely to first, if you passed around home plate right, you get a run. So they're running. One kid's got 6, one's got 10. And this kid comes up. It happens to be Zachariah. And he takes this ball and he throws it as far as he can. And the kid in the outfield misses it, and the ball goes into the woods and down into the river. Now, what do you think's happening on the bases? We got kids running like crazy, running in packs, just running. And one of them so tired he just flops down and sits in the mud, because you don't have to run. You can stay on a base as long as it's not home. So the ball finally comes back into the infield, and they take it and they're relaying it in. And Zachariah is safe on first, but he thinks, I can make it to second. And they bring that ball up and they get it, and they get just haul off to throw it. And Zach says, no way am I going to get out. And he took a dive. Now the water was so thick on the grass that he hydroplaned, and water went swooshing up on both sides, had his hands outstretched, and he reaches out, and just as his fingertips touch second base, they tap his legs. Oh, everybody roars. They think he's out. They think he's safe. Well, there's an adult standing there who helps make the decision. And there is an adult and says, safe. Because you know what? In mat ball, close is safe. If it's ever a question between safe or out, it's always safe. So Zach is getting cheers from everybody. There is water and mud flying everywhere. There was like 6 people on second, and they are covered with water and mud. You have to look twice to see who's who. Okay, so they're all cheering, they're all excited. And the next person gets up, takes the ball. You think they're going to kick it, and it's Demetra. She takes the ball and she throws it behind her into the woods. Now, the problem there for the outfielders is that that ball goes uphill. So now they have to scurry between the trees on the hillside through the woods to get up to where the ball is. Now, the thing about the top of the hill is the parking lot. So there's trees, there are cars there. Guess what's under the car? The ball. So now they've got to figure a way to get the ball. In the meantime, down on the ballpark, we've got kids just running, maybe 20 kids running from base to base, running behind home. Now, it's scary now because the ball was thrown behind home, which means it's going to be coming in. So anybody leaving third is at risk. So they take the ball and they throw it. They see somebody coming into third. And they take the ball and they haul it for all they're worth and throw it at third. And the kid happens to be Rachel. She jumps up into the air and she grabs the ball. Now, she's a base runner. She grabs the ball and she catches it, and down she falls. The water goes spraying everywhere. Everybody's drenched and laughing. Now, she's got the ball. That should be out, right? Oh, not in mat ball. In mat ball, as long as she's holding that ball and is touching base in any way, shape, or form, now that's the catch. She's safe. Now, what happens is the kids in the outfield, they know that. So what are they going to do? She goes down into cannonball position, puts that ball down in there, and they grab her, and they're pulling her as hard as they can to get her off the base. Because if she gets off the base and holds the ball, guess what? She's out. Well, finally, after a tug and pull and roll and twist and dirt and mud, they get her off base, and she takes the ball and she throws it. Now, as soon as she throws it, what do you think happens to the rest of the kids on third and second? Oh, away they go. We've got kids running again. Even Rachel, she takes off running because she knows she can get to first base, and she did. Now, the thing about holding the ball is you get to hold it for 10 seconds. So everybody's going 1, 2, 3, 4. So they either pull her off a base or she has 10 seconds to throw that ball. We had kids the kids down there on that ball field, they're so tired. Some of them are just laying in the mud because they're too tired to keep on running. And then Ryan and Riley, who are the ones that just graduated, and Cheyenne, well, she wasn't sure she wanted to play. So what she was doing was she was an umpire on third. She's the one calling this stuff. Now, Ryan and Riley, they're just running for all they're worth. They're just running, and it's just crazy. And they were having so much fun, and they were both on second, and Cheyenne got up. She's the youngest of that group, and she got up and she took the ball and she kicked it. And she kicked it in the air, and lo and behold, it went straight to second base, and Riley caught it. Yep, he caught it. 10 seconds. They tried to pull him off, but Ryan was holding on to him right there on the base. Couldn't get rid of it. When he did get rid of it, at the 10-second mark, he gave it to Ryan. Another 10 seconds. They're running, right? We get kids that can't even keep running. They're so tired. And everybody's hollering and screaming. It's such a grand time. And they're just wet and dirty. And then the next ones up are Bryant. Now, Bryant is the dad. He's a dad, but he's been on Pegasus story, so he knows about him. And he's coaching everybody and telling them how to play because he's played mat ball before. And he's helping the little ones. Mind you, little Lindley didn't play. She'd get hurt. Now, there are some things you need to know about mat ball, and that is this. When you play mat ball, you have to know you're going to get roughed up, okay? Mat ball can get a little rough. So there's no crying allowed, no whining allowed. If you don't want to get scratched up, you better have jeans or a sweatshirt on, right? But it's just the way it is, and you're going to get tugged and pulled, and you might even hurt a little bit, but that's the way the game is. So they had a grand time. So Bryant was in on it. Grant was running like crazy. Seth was having a good time. They just had so much fun. And then one of the adults came down from the top of the camp and said, guys, you got to quit. It's about time to go eat. Well, the kids knew they wouldn't really be staying to eat because they knew they had to get home. And so, one by one, and in groups, they began to leave the ball field. The kids are wondering, some of them are wondering, what are they doing? Where are they going? Now, they look like a bunch of zombies. They're like mud from head to toe. Well, they're heading across the back of the ballpark, across this field. Well, a couple of the kids knew where they were and they started running. Well, they're headed down to the river. Down to the river they went, into the water. And the water's only at some points 1.5 feet deep, but the water's kind of moving. It's cold. Down they go and they washed themselves all off, rinsed off as much as they could. Now, they had old shoes on, so that didn't matter, but they had their shoes on, got them all cleaned up, got as clean as they could get in the water. And you know who was waiting for them when they came up on the ball field? It was Pegasus. And on their back they jumped, and away they went. And Pegasus took them all home, and almost all of them slept on the way home. And that's Mud Mat Ball, and that's just the first one because it gets better from here. I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope you brushed your teeth before you went to bed and settle in quietly. Until we talk to you next time. Bye-bye.